Writing Task 1. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The graph below shows in percentage of terms the challenging patterns of domestic access to modern technology in homes in the UK. Summary the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparison where relevant. Write at least 150 words. The graph indicates the variation of the private use of Internet, PC, mobile phones and CD player in the UK from 1996 to 2003. The trend in 4 elements of the study was upward except in mobile phone that was rather erratic. CD player had the biggest figure among all with 60% at 1996 to 1997 and 801% at 2002 to 2003, while the Internet access only started in 1998 to 1999, showing the lowest figure throughout the period from 10% in 1998 to 1999 to above 40% in 2002 to 2003. Between 1096 to 1997 and 1998 to 1999 mobile phone and PC were going upward, while just after 1999 the former exceeded, showing figure of 70% compared to home computers with 55% in 2002 to 2003. To sum up, it was expected to have home computers as exceeding figure in the study as they provide features of CD player and the Internet access, but CD player and mobile phone were the 2 top modern technology access. Writing Task 1, Number 2. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The graph below shows the contribution of 3 sectors: agriculture, manufacturing, and business and financial services to the UK economy in the 20th century. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. The graph shows the contribution of different sectors to the UK economy in the 20th century. In particular, it compares the agricultural, manufacturing and business and financial sectors. Firstly, agriculture sector shows the higher value at the beginning of the period, around 50% in the first 50 years of the century. By the 1975, it had suffered a dramatic decrease, 15%, followed by a drop to almost zero in 2000. By contrast, business and financial sector were almost zero at the beginning, but it sharply increased during the period. Manufacturing sector seems to follow the trend of agriculture, starting with a value of 45% in 1900. In 1950 it began to fall till 1975, where it was below 35%. At the end of the period the percentage for manufacturing reaches 20%. In general, agricultural and manufacturing sector has a similar trends, but the former dropped much more at the end of the century than the latter. In contrast, the trend of business and financial increased during the period. 160. Writing Task 1. Number 3. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The bar chart shows the highest qualification attained by sex for the working age population in Wales in 2001-2002. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. The bar chart shows the figures for qualifications attained in women and men in Wales in 2001 and 2002 in percentages. The information can be divided into three groups. The first category includes degree and higher education qualification. The percentages were around 13% and approximately 11% for men and women respectively for degree, but for higher education qualification 8% for male and 9% for female. For GCE A-level and GCSE grade A to C, the percentage was much higher compared with the other two groups. The number of males in GCE A-level was roughly 28%, but for females about 15%. However, the GCSE grade AC showed a reverse pattern, 18% and 28% for men and women respectively. The figures for the third group were much lower. Other qualifications figures cited 12% for men and 11% for women. No qualifications were recorded for higher numbers of men and women, 20% and 23%. Overall, men had higher degrees whereas women had more GCE or equivalent
Writing Task 1. Number 4. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The chart shows the percentage of male and female teachers in 6 different types of educational setting in the UK in 2010. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. The bar chart gives information about male and female teachers in 6 types of educational institution in the UK in 2010. It shows what percentage of teachers were male and what percentage were female. Women predominated in schools for children. This was particularly true of schools for very young children. Over 95% of nursery school teachers, for example, were female. The situation was similarly one-sided in primary schools, where over 90% of teachers were women. Men and women were more equally represented in teaching institutions catering for older children and young adults, secondary schools and colleges. College lecturers, for example, were 50% female and 50% male. Males held a larger share of teaching posts in higher-level institutions. This was particularly true for universities, where twice as many males were teaching staff than females. Overall, women were more likely to hold the more typically maternal role of teaching young children. Males, on the other hand, predominated in the higher status teaching role of university. Writing Task 1. Number 5. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The graph shows the percentage of UK adolescents following a vegetarian diet. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. Write at least 150 words. Over the past 50 years, there has been significant variation in the percentage of young people in the UK who choose to eat a vegetarian diet. In 1960, only a small percentage of adolescents, about 1%, were vegetarian. There was then a steep increase until 1978. When over 15% were following a vegetarian diet. Thereafter, the percentage fell steadily until 1990 and then fluctuated for a decade. It reached a low point of just 4% in 1996. It has risen gradually since 2000 and is expected to continue to do so over the next few years. After reaching a high point in around 2015. It is projected to decline again and possibly level off by the decade's end. Overall, the graph shows 2 main periods of interest in vegetarianism among young people in the UK, one peaking around 1978 and the second projected to peak approximately 40 years later, in 2050. Writing Task 1. Number 6. The graph compares the percentage of international and the percentage of UK students gaining second-class degrees or better at a major UK university. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features. Write at least 150 words. The bar chart shows the proportion of UK students and international students achieving second-class degrees or higher in 7 different subjects at a university in the UK. Degree results were generally good for both home and international students, with well over 50% gaining a second-class degree or better in all 7 subjects except international law. International students tended to do better than UK students in technology-related subjects. This was particularly true of information technology, whereas over 80% of international students gained a good degree in IT, only about half of the UK students did so. Degree results were similar for the 2 groups in nursing and accounting. In arts and social science-related subjects, UK students tended to do better. The biggest gap in performance was in international law, where 3/4 of UK students gained a second-class degree or better. In contrast, fewer than half of the international students attained this level. Overall, the chart suggests that international and UK students had different strengths when studying for degrees in this UK. Writing Task 1. Number 7. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The table below shows how young people in Tokyo, Japan, listened to music over the previous month. The pie chart shows a record company's international findings about whether people preferred live or recorded music. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Model answer. The table illustrates the percentages of both young boys and girls who listened to music in the previous month in the capital of Japan. The most striking feature is that males were more interested in music than their female counterparts except for listening to CDs 19% and 22% respectively. The highest rate was 79% for boys who were interested in MP3 players, while with regard to the same type of players for girls the proportion was 40%, which was almost similar to the percentage of the Internet 42%. With respect to live music, females recorded 44%. Turning to the pie chart, 70% of young Japanese people prefer live music, whereas recorded music rate was 26% and those who answered don't know their rate was just 4%. In conclusion, young females spent less time listening to favorite music compared to the opposite sex. Regarding preference of music, live music scored the top percent. Writing Task 1. Number 8. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The charts below show how selected age groups purchased concert, cinema, and theater tickets online over the first 3 months of 2006 in 3 countries and how the Internet was accessed. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Model answer. The 2-bar chart illustrate the percentage of purchase online tickets of concert, cinema and theatre in Australia, the UK, and Malaysia, by a selected age group and how the interest was accessed over the first 3 months of 2006. Purchases for the age group 25 to 44 was the same in the Western countries at 55%, whereas in Malaysia, it was just under 40%. Surprisingly, the percentage was very close in the UK and Malaysia, around 40% for the age group 65 plus, with a slight increase in Australia to about 45%. In terms of the most common means of access to buy tickets, the chart shows that the desktop computers was the predominant means in Malaysia, the UK and Australia at about 60%, 62% and 68%, respectively. Next came the laptop, with a close percentage in Australia and Malaysia around 45% each, while there was a moderate drop to 30.5%. In the UK, the data might give us an indication about the online purchase. Writing Task 1. Number 9. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The table below shows the projected costing over the next 5 years in American dollars for 3 environmental projects for sustainable forestry. The pie chart shows the expected expenditure breakdown allocation for the first year as the projects are set up. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Model answer. The table illustrates expected cost of the 3 environmental projects in 3 different parts of the world in the next 5 years. The estimated cost of the African project in year 1 is $10.5 million. Almost half of the projected cost for Central America, $20 million. And about 1/3 of the Asian project, $30 million. It is predicted that West Africa will spend less money in the following years than in year 1, falling to $3.5 million in year 5. Central America shows a similar pattern. In year 5, expected cost of project is $5 million, which is 4 times less than in year 1. However, in Southeast Asia in year 5 spending will rise to $50 million. Regarding the pie chart, 50% of projected cost will cover salaries, the rest 50% will be shared on training and office expenses, 10% each, while 30% is expected setup costs. To sum up, Southeast Asia has the highest projected cost for environmental projects for the next 5 years. Writing Task 1. Number 10. You should spend about 20 minutes on this task. The graph shows the average monthly use of a health club in Miami, Florida by all full-time members over last year. The pie charts show the age profile of male and female members. Summarize the information by selecting and reporting the main features, and make comparisons where relevant. Write at least 150 words. Model answer. The graph gives information about the average monthly use of a health club in Miami, Florida by full-time members last year. One of the most striking features of the graph is that use the gym was higher in summer compared to the other months of the year. In January, 550 males visited the gym. The figure decreased slightly. After that, there was a significant increase in the number of male membership from January to June. In June, the figure hit the highest point of 8,500, but in July there was a slight reduction to December. The trend for female membership follow the same. However, from July to September, 7,200 females used the gym in every month. Turning to pie chart, 4% more of male membership aged between 21 and 45 used the facilities in gym compared to females. 32% of female member had age 65 plus in contrast to 25% of males. 20% of other age group among males had the membership compared to 17% of females. Overall, higher number of males used the gym than women.